Hi, today I'm going to show you how to create very simple columns in HTML3 or HTML5 and CSS3. I have a relatively long web page here, give a couple poems by Robert Frost, and some placeholder text down below in HR. I want these two poems to lay next to each other on the page so that I can look at both of them simultaneously. This will just look pretty here on this page. What I can use for this in real world is I can make this, say, a main section, a secondary section with third sections down below. I can use this layout to make my page flow the way that I want and create a nice user interface. The trick for this is floating and setting the widths of the objects you wish to float. So I'm going to go back to my HTML, and I have each one of my poems inside of a div tag. Any of these page layout tags can work. I chose div because I like div. So I have two of Mr. Frost's more famous poems, The Road Not Taken and Stopping by Woods in a Snowy Evening. I'm going to set this div tag up so that this poem's on the first column and then Stopping by Woods is on the second column. I'll create two classes for this. Only one left call and the other right call. You can call these cucumber or banana if you want, as long as you apply them correctly. I tend to use names that make sense. So I'm going to float them. They're both going to float left. I'm going to set a size to them. For now, I'm going to keep it simple and do 50%. Each one's going to get half the page. And I'm going to turn on a new element here. The box sizing. I've got three choices. Inherit, of course, pulls from the parent it's in. Border box is the sizing of the object, including the border, or content box, which is the sizing of the object, ignoring the border. Sometimes content box has some issues whenever you're creating objects that fill the page. Like for instance, if I left this at 50% and then content box, my two divs may not sit next to each other because each one is 50% wide, but the border and the margin and the padding take up some additional spacing. So even though I split the page in half, the elements would sit on top of each other. So I'm going to pick border box. I'm going to use this in both left call and right call. And I'll take left call and right call and apply them using the class property. And I'll look at what I've done, and they're next to each other. Got a ton of extra space here, that's okay. But you see, the HR tag is up here inside the right column. I don't want that. Once again, I'm going to clear that. I'm going to clear it using a class, calling it clear floats. I'm clearing it using a class because it's very possible that I'll have to do this again and again. And by applying a class to it, rather than remembering to apply this particular clear property to the right elements, I apply this class to the elements and it goes where I want. So I created the class clear floats. I'll apply that to my HR. Here it is. And poem, poem, line. Clearly I have page layout the way that I want. Now this time I did them at 50%, but you can pick different numbers. So if I go back up to my widths, I could use pixels or ems here. I say 25 ems on the first one and say 40 ems on the second one. M, of course, is the width of the letter M roughly. It's a very good dynamic tool or dynamic measurement. Look at it. Less space here, more space over there. When I resize the page, it works to a point and then it stacks. And that's good. You could, of course, flip-flop these. Give you more space between the left and right. Whatever you need. it works. One thing that does cause problems, if you go back to the percentages, this relative page sizing is really good until you get to too small of a page. So if I resize this thing, at some point it gets to the point where it's too small. And this relative page sizing does what you ask it to do and take half the width of the page, but this is unreadable. You'll notice when I put that back to M's, if the page ever gets to the point where it doesn't fit, it stacks them for you, which is much better when you go into a mobile development because you don't know how wide your phone's going to be. So when you have physical static sizes, like I just posed there, eventually they get too small for the phone, and so the browser just stacks them on top of one another. Yes, you lose your page layout, but you keep a readable page. Alright, so I demonstrated a very quick setup of two columns, showed you how to clear them, and discussed using physical, practical sizes rather than percentages so that you can avoid problems with small devices. Thanks for listening.